What's up, guys? Welcome to the first of hopefully many installments of Final Fantasy XIV, A Realm Reborn. For those of you who don't know, this is a Final Fantasy MMO, and it is a remake of the original Final Fantasy XIV, which was released back in 2010. We'll cover why there was an actual remake of this game necessary later. But for now, I just wanted to bring you guys some videos of the character creator and the beginning of the game to kind of show you guys what the game is like, and hopefully some of you will like it, like what you see. Maybe you want to try to play it, or at the very least, you'll be entertained by the videos. So we're going to go ahead and get started here. Now, the servers are actually down for maintenance right now, so I can't actually connect to anything. I know it says I can, but trust me, I've tried for the last like half hour and I can't do it. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to create a new character to show you guys what the character creator looks like, and hopefully that'll be enough, along with a few other videos that I'll make later to maybe make some more videos. I'll be making plenty on the happenings of our guild, quest lines, boss battles, events in the game, and things like that as the game goes on. But for now, we're going to cover some simple stuff. This is actually my main character. He's got some funny looking gear on because I was actually doing some crafting. The way that the jobs and everything work in this game, it's not quite like an MMO. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's go ahead and go to the character creators. Now, when I click new character on the top right there, it asks me if I want to load any appearance data. Whenever you create a character or go through the character creator in A Realm Reborn, at the end it'll ask you if you want to save those presets that you customized, so that maybe you can pull them up at a later date. There's reasons why you might want to do this. I'll cover that at a later time, but for now I don't have any appearance data, and either way I want to show you the creator in full, so we're going to go ahead and not do anything. So this is the main preview for your character in the character creator, and as you can tell from the top right, in A Realm Reborn you play as one of 5 main races. The 5 main races are fairly standard MMOs races, and if you played 11, Final Fantasy 11, they're fairly similar to the races in that game. So you have the Hewer, which are just basically humans. You've got the Elezen, which are elves. You've got the Lalafell, which are the little people of the game. You've got the Mikote, which are, for all intents and purposes, cat people. They've got cat tails and cat ears, and they behave and talk like cats with purring and things like that. Then you have the Rodigan. The Rodigan is basically the big people of the game. Exact opposite of the Lalafell. They're kind of like orc ogres, but not so ugly, and definitely not nearly as stupid. Now, you can tell that there's a lot of graphical fidelity in this game, and the level of that fidelity is insane, really. From how the light and shadows are rendered, to the detail in the character and armor and weapon models, the creatures, the animations, the sound, the music, everything is absolutely polished phenomenally. It's unlike any MMO I've played as far as graphics and visual fidelity and audio fidelity goes as well. Now, the art style may not agree with everybody, but I have yet to find an MMO whose art style does. It's a very realistic but stylized realistic art style, and hopefully you'll see more of that in the game. But I mean, it's without a shadow of a doubt, it is an incredibly detailed and very finely rendered game, right down to sun glare. So for this video, we're going to make a Mikote female, because I absolutely adore the way they look. I know my main character isn't one, because I don't usually play female characters, but these are just too adorable. And looking at the bottom right, you'll see a part of the UI that will stay with us throughout the entire character creation process. This allows you to kind of change how your character looks so that you can get different views, different angles of your characters, the choices you've made for your character's creation so far. So you have things like pose, where you can choose for them to be simply standing as she is there, or have a little unique pose where she does a little animation. And they're generally different for each of the races. They'll do a little something different whenever you click them. So you can just kind of see how the animations are. And, you know, to make the character creator a little less stale, really. And the animations, they kind of vary every time you click on them. Certain races will do certain things at certain times. It's all a bit randomized. Next to pose, you have attire. Now you can choose for them to wear their normal attire, which is just their race, and this is like their starting attire, or you can have them wear small clothes, which is basically underwear. There's no real reason to do that unless you just want to see what's under the armor or look at your character's physique, but you can't modify the character's physique too much, so really this is all just gratuitous. So we're gonna have her just stand normally with the normal racial clothes, because I mean the armor just does look really, really good. Next to attire, you have environment. You can change the environment in which your character is displayed on so that you can kind of see her in a different light or in a different setting. This is pretty awesome as far as character creators go, because you never really get to change the environment of the character you're in, especially not in such detail. And at the same time, you can get a little preview of what the environment in the game itself looks like. And the level of detail in the environment is, it's like I said before, it's insane. I mean, from the rocks to the grass to the texture of the ground to the sky, the buildings, you can get a little bit of LOD information. It's all just really, really beautiful. And with some of these, you can even change the time of day so that you can see what not only the environment but your character will look like at night as well. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and stick with the crystal background, which is this one, the starting one. And we're going to start customizing our character. So you hit confirm, and you get this option box right here. Every race has 2 sub-races to it, and every sub-race has its own lore and its own reason for looking different and being different in its own way, but there really is no difference other than the visual difference. You can see over there it says starting attributes right over here. These don't really get affected by the change in race in late game, because you assign your own stats, and the change between them is so minimal that it really doesn't warrant any worry for anybody. So if you fall in love with a certain look, but it may not, the stats difference may clash with a certain class, don't worry about it. It's all customizable later in the game anyway, and it doesn't, the change is so minimal. So we're going to go ahead and stick with the Seekers of the Sun. And do keep in mind, as you watch this video and other videos, this is a very lore-driven game. I'm going to skip a lot of the text or flavor text or what have you, because it's a lot to read, and this video is going to be long enough already. So you can check that out on your own if you want. There's plenty of information out there on the internet, but it's a very, very lore-driven game. Even the reason for it being called A Realm Reborn has a very grounded reason, which does have to do with the original version of the game, but we won't get into that right now. So, like I said, Seeker of the Sun. On the left, you have all the different attributes of your character's physique, and then on the right, you have the modifier for that attribute that you are changing, and they'll change up a little bit for every different class, or excuse me, every different race. Like the Makote, obviously they have these little tails, so they have little modifiers for the tail shape or the tail length. Other races won't have that. Things like that. The Elezen can change the length of their ears, and so on. So we're gonna go ahead and just make her as tall as she can be, which they actually give you a little real world measurement right here. 63.8 inches, 6'3". Not too bad. 6'4" really. Oh, I'm sorry, 5'4". Wow. Horrible math on the internets. That's awesome. Bust size? I'm a guy. Max it out. Why not? Skin color? I think I'm going to leave her with a little pale, little clear complexion. We'll see what that looks like outside again. Oh, it's nighttime. Always forget that. You can give her little tans if you want, but I kind of like them. Like it when it's clear. Alright, tail shape. Go back to the crystal background. I think we can give her a little lion's tail. That bulb may be a little too. Yeah, let's stick with the fine tip tail, or rather, yeah, the little furry tail. So, I mean, just looking at the tail, I mean, you can obviously tell what kind of a style of modeling they use. It's like the same style that you use seagrass with, but even so, especially when you have dozens and dozens of these characters, it's a fairly detailed little model. Tail length, longest. Nice little fluffy pink tail for her. Hairstyle, no, things like hairstyle and certain facial features will change with the race, and sometimes even sub-races of the characters you choose. So, if you're not a cat lady, you won't get this hairdo, basically. And they're, by and large, most hairdos and things like that are like that. Very race, sex, and or sub-race specific. So, you can zoom in here. I think that I might just stick with that beginning spiky hair that they give us. Yeah. We'll go ahead and stick with that. Alright. Hair color, I think I'll keep it simple. I'll just make it black. And I do believe that it changes the color. Yep, it changes the color of the tail down there as well. Alright. So face, these are basically general presets to facial structure, and you will later, right after this, will be changing the little details about certain aspects of the face, but choosing this kind of presets these options down here so that you can fine-tune the general look that you've chosen. So I think I'm actually going to choose look number 2, a little elegant Asian look. For the jaw, let's see, we'll choose a more pointed. Yeah, we'll stick with type 2. Eye shape. Very minute differences, but at the same time, the devil's in the details. The more details you add, the more little tweaks to details, the more noticeable those details really become. I'll stick with type 3. Iris, to the point where you can change the iris size. I mean, normally you wouldn't even look to think at the eyes of an MMO character. You're normally not even that close to your own character, let alone others. But the option's there for you to take advantage of. Eye color. I think I'm gonna give her some purple eyes. Got an idea for you. A purple style to get her going here. Alright, eyebrows. Let's see. I haven't actually gone through all of the character creator models, so I didn't go through the Mikotes either, so this is actually new to me as far as all the customization options are concerned. Let's pick a nice little pointy nose. Yeah, we'll stick with type 3. Type 3 is good. The mouth. Type 3 again. Type 3 seems to be a good match, or at least I think so. You can notice just a little hint of a smile there, creeping out. Lip color. So we'll go with this purple theme I got going for her. Give her some lipstick. We'll do lighter purple. Yeah. There we go. Facial features. Now, like most MMOs, they usually only make you pick one or two. In this one, you can actually pick all of them. And these are just little details like scars or jewelry or little marks or something like, I guess, they made the eyebrows hairier, which is an interesting feature, considering there was already an eyebrow selection. But, yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and not give her any. Give her a nice clean look through her face. Go to tattoos, and if you were wondering what this little mark under her left eye was, it's a tattoo. We're gonna go ahead and remove that. I believe, yeah, you can have more than one tattoo if you wish. And for other races, there'll be much more selections. The Mikote females apparently only have these two little selections here, but we're gonna go ahead and remove that tattoo color we don't need. And face paints. There's a bit of a selection with face paints, you know. It'll change with the race and the sex at times, as most of these other things do. I'm not too crazy about basically all of these tattoos. It's just not my thing, but there are some people that, you know, they can make them work. Unfortunately, you can only choose one, so you can't think up of a cool design with the dots on your forehead and have the little whiskers on top of the stripes on her head. And the stripes on her face are actually just part of the character model themselves, since she is a Mikote, a little cat lady, so those will never go away or change color. So we're gonna go ahead and give her some eyeshadow, because these tattoos up here, the first four, are basically just makeup. Give her some eyeshadow, and let's make that purple. And you can also reverse certain tattoos. So say I pick this butterfly, I can click reverse and it'll end up on the opposite cheek if it conflicts with hairdos or scars or anything like that. And you know what? I'm actually going to change her hair color a little bit. When you go to hair color, on the bottom left of the swatch selector over here, there's an option for highlights. And I think I'm going to go ahead and give her some purple highlights. Let's see if we can... Yeah, that looks good. Alright. Now the voice. The voice acting in this game is fairly limited, and it's mostly Japanese. So there's going to be a real Japanese anime vibe from everything that isn't language or translated into English voice acting. So, you know, like grunts, getting hit, attacking, yelling, cheering, any of those sorts of noises that isn't actually talking is basically going to sound Japanese. And personally, I'm not the biggest fan of the Japanese voice selection in this game. It's a lot akin to Monster Hunter, if you're familiar with that title, but it's not terrible. There's nothing inherently wrong with Japanese voice acting. At times, I find it's much better than other voice acting, but the selection for most of these, that I've seen so far has been not the best for what I'm looking for. So hopefully we'll find a good match for this little Miqo'te here. So we'll go through one by one. Now there's the different types of voices that you can choose from, and they also give you the option to hear the voice through different emotes. So this first one is like a little angry emote, and you can either click the type or click the emote itself to listen to it and to actually view a little animation of it. Now, I personally like to stick with the laugh because you get the most variation in the type of voice that you're listening to, and then go from there. So let's just go through these one by one. Oh, I'm liking that one the most so far. Yeah, I basically like 7. That seems to be the closest thing that I would imagine her sounding like when I look at her. Alright, so that's basically it for the physical and audio portion of the character customization. So you click confirm, you can go back and change these at any time you wish, then you hit confirm again down here on the left. And it'll, like I said before, it'll ask you to save the appearance data. I don't normally save the appearance data because I like going through the character creator to see if there's things that I might have missed before or something like that. But there's reasons that you might want to save the appearance data. If you find a look that you like and you really don't want to forget it, that we'll go over in another video. So for now, I'm just going to click no. Now, right here, it's asking for your character's day of birth. And this doesn't really give you anything other than roleplay background. So I usually just pick my character's, or my own birth date for my character. August 3rd. After that comes this list of deities or gods, and each deity has background to it, of course, and elemental attributes that play into elemental attack and defense later in the game. This selection is one of those things that doesn't really matter either. It's more for roleplay because these values get changed a lot later on in the game, more by the player than by the actual deity that they choose. So I believe, and I've read all of these before, that I'm going to just click Menfina for hers, the keeper of the moon and the goddess of love. Even though that this Miqo'te is a seeker of the sun, she's a classic case keeper of the moon. Once you're done with that, you get your class creation list. Now, the thing that is most unique about Final Fantasy XIV is the fact that every character can be every class at any point in time. What I mean by that is there's no alts in this game, really. You can have alts for more bank space or the like, but it's designed for you to play one character and for that one character to be all the classes. The class system is all based to support each other, so you will never just play one class, really. You're always going to have to level up other classes that give supporting abilities and stats and playstyles, really, so that you can be better at the class that you want to be the most. Those are details we'll be covering later. But every character can be every single class. So really what you're doing here is you're picking what you want to start out as first. Now there's 2 disciples for combat. There's Disciples of War, which are physical combat classes, and there's Disciples of Magic, which are magic combat classes, obviously. And if you keep noticing on the top left over here, this is the lore corner. Everything that we click on is going to have some kind of lore. There is a total of 9 classes, I believe, with the combat classes. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, there's 8 classes, miscounted by 1. But there's also crafting and gathering, and those are actually classes in themselves. They aren't just little side jobs that you do. They're legitimate classes that you have to level up. Every class has its own level pool. Right now the cap is 50, and they're all independent of each other. So you can be a level 1 conjurer, and be a level 50 thaumaturge, and be a level 23 arcanist. It doesn't matter, because you level each one of those individually at your discretion. Now, if you click through these classes, you'll get little weapons that pop up on your character, and every class has a main weapon, and that one main type of weapon only. So this isn't the only one sword that you'll see in the game, but every single one-handed sword in the game belongs to gladiators. So the way that class swapping works in this game is you just equipped the main weapon of a class and you become that class. The limiting factor in that is that every class only has one type of weapon. So gladiators get one-handed swords, pugilists get the little fist weapon things, I forget what they're called, marauders get axes, two-handed axes, lancers get the lance, archers get the bow and arrow, obviously, so on and so forth. But it is really easy to switch between classes, and once you learn how to utilize the system, it becomes really easy and natural to work with this limiting factor in your equipment. Now, we're almost done, but one quick thing I wanted to show you is down here in attire, where you can change the lady's clothes from normal clothes to almost naked. In between those is job, and this lets you preview the type of armor that class is going to get. Now, this armor is very specific to the current class selected, and it is also end game armor. It's not the end game armor, it's not the best armor, but it's down there, it's down the line, and it's very stylized and specialized for your class only. Equipment is shared between the other classes, but this relic gear is what it's called, is in this case for gladiators only. And it's very shiny, very detailed, very nice to look at. It has some very nice stats, I'm sure. But it is not the end-all, be-all of equipment in this game, so don't be thinking that, you know, it's a very repetitive or monotonous game as far as equipment is concerned. There is a fair bit of diversity. Admittedly, not as diverse as other MMOs right now, but it is very diverse and detailed and just gorgeous enough to where even if you did see the same thing all around more often than you are actually going to right now, it's so beautiful to look at. I personally don't care. Everybody could wear this and it would still be awesome. So I'm going to go through these all real quick so you can get a little preview of what all the armor looks like. So this is for the gladiator. This is for the pugilist, which is basically like a monk character. This is for the marauder. This is for the lancer, which is my personal favorite. Walks a very fine line between black and purple. This is the archer, which I find a little silly. It just doesn't seem coherent with the rest of the armor styles, but that's just a personal opinion. The conjurer, which is somewhat of a white mage in the beginning of the game, but every class has its strengths, it has its obvious role, but it can fill a sub role too. It's not entirely bogged down. The thaumaturge, which basically ends up being a black mage by the end of the game, and arcanist, which are like summoners and have almost as crazy looking gear as the archers do. Now, attention to detail, check the little ear extensions on the hat out for the Mikote. If you were a hewer, rather, you wouldn't have those because you don't have pointy ears. In most MMOs, they'll just stick out or something like that, kind of like the staff is doing with the hat right there. But you know, they do go through and rework the models so that it'll fit better to your class and have it at least be that much more immersive and defined within the world. So we're gonna go ahead and stick with Gladiator, go back to normal equipment, and then we'll click confirm. Now, once this is done, the server list comes up, and you get to pick what server you want to be in. You know, hopefully, if you're playing this, you will play on the Adamantoi server, which is the server that I and my guild play in, or maybe you have friends elsewhere that you'd like to play with. But either way, you get to choose between the Japanese and the North Americas and European servers, which actually share a server cluster, and choose the world that you want to start out in. There's no real indication on this server listing which ones are too full, or they have listings, as you can see here, for ones that are completely full, but there's no real indication of anything in between full and empty. It's either you can make one in there or you can't. So good luck if you do decide to pick a random server, because you might be picking one that's super low pop or super medium or super high. You won't really know until you get in there. And there's a little character counter for the characters that you may have on a server. There's my main character on the Adamantoi server right there. So once you click a server, hit confirm, and it asks you to make the name for the character. So I will name mine what I usually name my female characters, usually as a kind of wife or sister character to my main character. And you can also click the little dice down here on the bottom left of this pane to randomize a name if you wish or you need it to. Hit confirm, and the server will then check to make sure that the name is taken, as they always do. And once that's done, it comes up with this box asking if you want to jump right in to the character. Really, you can't create a character and then not jump into the game immediately. You kind of have to click OK here, because if you click cancel, you have to click the confirmation button again, and it just asks you if you want to start. So this is as far as we'll go for now. I will be bringing more videos to you guys later, and hopefully some of you people out there that maybe haven't played an MMO or who are looking for a new MMO might try out playing this game with us on the Adamantoi server. Now, the game, it's not your standard WoW or Guild Wars or Rift, SWTOR, or whatever. It's fairly unique. Yes, it still has fetch quests. Yes, it has leveling. Yes, it has an end game, and eventually you can grind out things. There is grinding, and you can grind out things to the point where you're bored or whatever, but it's designed in a way to kind of help you control that urge to just grind the crap out of everything. And there's lots to do in the world, and it's presented in a very different way than most MMOs are. So I highly recommend you give it a chance, at the very least. But for now, this video has gone on long enough for one character creator. I'll be bringing more to you guys shortly, so thank you for watching, and take care.